Even though I have over a decade of experience as a transportation planner, building realistically sometimes gives me predictably frustrating results. Traffic is at a breaking point here in New Banff. While it might seem crazy that a city of only 22,000 residents can suffer from crushing gridlock, our river is a massive barrier with too few crossings. These bridges act as brutal bottlenecks, causing traffic jams that persist well outside of the peak rush hours. And I think that's a big reason that residents have started ignoring the transit-only designation on the Terry Fox Bridge. And the frustrating thing about that is that not only slows down our buses and trams, it's also blocking cyclists and pedestrians from safely crossing the river. All of this leaves us at a crossroads, where we must optimize basically every single mode of transportation. Additionally, even though some of you like to call me parking planner plays, it seems that many of you believe I haven't been building nearly enough, and I tend to agree. So today, let's rectify that and add even more parking. Finally, a brand new asset was just released that will allow me to finally activate the rail line near Gary Mills. If only I'm willing to take some, let's call them, drastic measures. And I feel like we have to begin right here. This bridge is one of our biggest concerns in the entire community. And the main reason for that is it just has crazy traffic. It actually backs across the entire bridge and all the way to this intersection right here. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. The big one is that we have a pedestrian crossing right here. And honestly, that's not going to change. This is one of the most important pedestrian connections in the community, and I want to prioritize it. But there are a few things that we need to do to optimize things. The first is actually adjusting the lane connectors right here. This is being treated like a place to make U-turns, and that's insane. So none of those. I want to remove the unsafe connections, and I think I want to make it impossible to turn from Poplar Street onto this. Ultimately, this will make it much less attractive to use this as a cut-through street, and that's the whole reason why I wanted to make that modification. But let's see where traffic's actually coming from here. Now, I have a sneaking suspicion that most traffic in the city is actually using this bridge. So when we just click on random streets, obviously Pacific Street's getting a great deal of traffic from this bridge right here. However, we still have a decent amount coming from Main Street. Terry Fox is coming from Main Street. Steve Street is coming from Main Street. So what that tells me is we need more bridges. And I've been eyeballing a connection point. And you can see that there's kind of a natural connection across the river that would link up with this elementary school. I think that would be a really valuable connection, and maybe we should extend it all the way through and make another arterial that links up this half of Banff to this half. So we're gonna go with the 4-lane divided road, and I'm gonna upgrade all the way to our main drag right here. Because I had Anarchy on, it didn't take out this house, so I'll do it myself, and we'll go with something narrower right there. Now we've got to cross the river, and I think I want to go with a special bridge. Even though we aren't going to have a lift bridge right here, if we use something like the 4-lane drawbridge, we'll get a different looking bridge, and I kind of like the idea of that. And actually, before I draw that across, I'm going to upgrade so that I know where this bridge should connect. And because I don't want to displace the school, there is where our arterial will go. Now we can add the bridge. And I want to make a couple of modifications to it. I'm thinking that we're going to add a node right about here. And I wanted to basically make this a keyed section, but it's not letting me, so I'll have to delete that portion of the bridge. What I think I'm going to have to do is create a normal bridge first and then upgrade this bridge to be the drawbridge. And the funny thing is, this is all dippy and crazy, so we need to use the slope tools. You can see we end up with a much smaller bridge span, and that's exactly why I wanted to do this. Now I'll delete these center pieces and add my bridge. Now, just looking at this bridge, look at how much traffic it's already carrying across all modes of transportation. Roads blue, green, those are pedestrians, and the yellow are cyclists, so there was a huge demand for this bridge. Now let's continue to upgrade, and I just want to basically take this all the way to this diagonal road up here. Before we go any further, I want to figure out what's happening with this diagonal road, Moose Drive. And that's because I've seen a number of traffic backups here, and it seems like this segment of Moose Drive is basically functioning as an arterial. And that's because this segment of Moose Drive is functioning like an arterial, so I feel like we should just formalize that. So what I'm thinking that we're going to do is swoop school where Moose is and then link up with Bobcat right here. This will actually take this arterial connection and terminate it into another arterial. So let's upgrade this first. Then I'm going to sever these connections. And now I'll attempt to complex curve these together. And that is more or less what I was thinking, so that did work well. There is a little bit of an oddity right here though. I basically just have to remove that bridge and then figure out this connection. I'll add one node. You know what? I was going to link it in. I'm not going to. It should not link in. And that's mainly because it's way too close to this intersection right here. So I'm sure that these folks would be very unhappy to lose their access, but they should. Now, I won't take it away in two locations though. I will link up these two roads directly into the arterial, even though I believe that these are too close. Ultimately, that just wouldn't be a battle that I think the city would want to take on. And then right here, I think what I'm going to do is drop this down to one lane and basically turn this into a couplet. That will allow me to get rid of this as long as I restrict that left-hand turn. So now they just have a yield sign onto the arterial, which would make a ton more sense. Now I've got to clean a couple of things up. There's just a ton of stoplights right here and a ton of crosswalks that just don't make a lot of sense. This should probably be a super node. So we're going to use the network tools to make it one, and that will give us one set of traffic lights. And then let's do that all up and down the street. Okay, that's looking much more rational. Now, I probably should have a signal right here, but I think I want to do something else. I think that we should have a roundabout right here. My main rationale is I think that for the most part, we have space. Ignore those two homes right there. Those had to go anyway. Now, this one's a little bit tight. I'm going to be okay with removing that one because I really want to go through these blocks anyway and kind of clean things up. And honestly, I'll just use eminent domain all over the place. There we go. Now it fits. I'm also going to get guppy brain for just a moment. We have the wrong post office box here. Let's add our Canadian Post box. Perfect. Looking back up School Street, I also want to remove this signal and then extend School as an arterial all the way to our couplet up here. And then just looking at this, a couple of things jump out to me. First of all, we've got tram track right here that shouldn't be there. But second of all, we've got these trees that are dead, which kind of kills me. So I'm going to change the age of the trees. And I think a young oak will probably make the most sense right here perpetually. And the whole reason why I want a younger oak is I want to preserve visibility. So even if it got older, it would likely be trimmed considerably because of that. And then finally, I just need to make sure that we don't have stoplights all over the place because of course we do. The only one I want to preserve is this one right here, and that's because this is a major transit facility. So this light is here specifically for the buses and the trams. And then I think the final thing I want to do here is prevent all of this on-street parking. This is not the road that you want people parking on. So I'll add the median, and perhaps most importantly, the trees. And then we've got some shenanigans going on right here. I'll just restrict left-hand turns here, and that should be good enough. Same thing right here. And you know, even with those changes, we're seeing a graphical corruption. So here is the real solution. We take away the access from Steve Street. After adding the bridge in, I figured that traffic would probably be in a good place, but I wanted to wait until the AM peak period to truly get a sense of what traffic looks like now that we have this bridge. And what you can see is that all the backup on the Main Street Bridge, it's gone. The backup that we had over here on the Terry Fox Street Bridge is even gone, and it's because we have this new bridge that appears to be carrying most of the local traffic. So this has definitely resolved the issue for us. So now let's talk parking, because there's a lot that we have to add. And I know that that's going to upset some of you. You'd like me to make a pedestrian-friendly city, but I think we actually need to have parking if we want this to be a pedestrian-friendly city. And let me explain what that means. I've seen this multi-level parking building get completely filled up. So what would happen then is folks would be driving around this pedestrianized area trying to find a parking space, one of the few on-street parking spaces. And that would make this a less pedestrian-friendly environment. Further, this building right here, this one right here, the entirety of our Canadian Tire store, none of those have any parking associated with them. or if they do, it's very few. So that's just not very realistic. I feel like we need to add some. And then there are locations like this where there's no way to access the parking. I'm not sure exactly how they got in here. So we are going to make some adjustments. And let's actually start right here. I'm going to get rid of this one. Now, that parking lot makes a ton more sense in my opinion, but we can't do the exact same thing for these tall, dense buildings. That's not going to make any sense. So because of that, I decided to add in some underground parking into the build. And I've got 4 assets to work with. This one right here, which is 1x3. This is the inverse of the exact same asset. This is a 2x3, and this is a 2x4. Now this one right here also has a park on the back, so it adds +1 outdoor recreation. So I think this is the one I might try to work into the Canadian Tire, and I'm going to probably take these smaller ones and place them near the towers. So let's start out there because I think I'd like to work parking in right about here. So I think I'll go with this one, which has the pedestrian access on the left side. And I think that this is actually the wrong parking facility for this area. And that's because if I go with something like this, I can really tighten it up. And now I'm not encroaching quite as much into this. I just have to make sure that we have pedestrian access around here, which I think is a lot more doable. Now I've got to modify some of these pedestrian connections. You can see that this one that comes with the asset goes to the road. Before I delete it, I want to snap onto it. Because my fear is if I just delete this thing, it's going to break the asset. You know, it's not telling me that it's broken, so I'm just going to watch it for a moment to see if people pop out of it. Oh, they just did, so it is working. And because of how pedestrianized this area is, I want to try to hide the parking even more than I already am. And that looks really good in my opinion. Now, one thing I am a little bit curious about, how many parking stalls is this? 100, which honestly isn't that bad. The only thing that is bad is the parking fee. It's currently 10 CAD, and I feel like that is way too low. Generally, when you think about parking, surface lots are going to be $10,000 to build per stall. Structured will be about 30, and when you look at underground, you're pushing $60,000 to $120,000 per stall. And no developer in their right mind is going to give that away for less than market rate. So we'll say 25 per day. Now, this building right here is historical, so I don't really care if it doesn't have parking. It's just not going to have parking. Canadian Tire, on the other hand, though, is a brand new shopping center, and for it not to have parking, when it says only 79 employees, that seems crazy. We're going to bump that up to 175. It needs to have more than the grocery stores. If it has 175 employees, imagine how many customers it also has. And right now, nobody can park here unless they're parking on the street. My guess is if you're grabbing groceries and some brakes for your car, you probably want to drive to this place. Now, I think I'm going to make this kind of an uncomfortable parking area and basically have it line up like this on the side. And I think that's because this is basically the only way that I'm going to be able to fit this in. I don't want to take access from Main Street. Taking it from Steve Street would be challenging because of the depth. I think trunks is kind of the only option. So let's get rid of some landscaping. Then I want to see the internal pathing. I actually added that. That's right. We'll just get rid of that. Then I snap that onto the side of the road to plop it, not because I want it to be there, but because I want it to be completely square. Now, to make this look a little bit nicer, we'll get rid of surfaces. On the Canadian Tire, I think that we have some conflicts because we have this bench right here and we have bike parking, and they'll both be underneath So I hate to remove benches, but I feel like I have to. And then I need to change this pathing because this entire area right here, and I probably should have done this across the street too, people can walk inside of this area. If I modify this space, not the surface, but the space, people will only walk inside of the space. So now I've made proper space for the parking area. Let's also get rid of this lighting, which I need to go through at some point and kind of redo lighting all over town. But there we go. Now I can put this in position, remove elements of this asset. I'm adding back these hedges, but not quite as far back. And the main reason I'm not going this far back is visibility. And then I deleted hedges from the top of here inadvertently. I'll just add bushes. Now, people can take their bikes into their homes, so we don't have to add bike racks in front of any of these residential buildings. But Canadian Tire is a destination, which means that it does need bike parking, and I removed it. So I'm going to add that back. Now, there's one more place that I want to add parking over here, and that is with this apartment complex. There is a little bit of parking in the rear, but not very much. And honestly, I would imagine that this is guest parking. So what I'm going to do is remove this tree and one of the units. Move this one over. Now that we've got a little bit of space right here, we can add in another one of these small underground parking lots. And I'll keep the pedestrian side close to the building. Gonna also get rid of street parking right here. Add in some street trees. And we'll add the oak tree back in, and it's good to go. And there's really only one more space that I think we need to add parking, and that is near our farmers market. Now, this is pointed out in the comments on a number of occasions, and I just never really considered how many people would need to come here. So there's 268 employees. So you can imagine if there are 268 employees, there's 1,000 guests here. So we definitely need to make sure that we've got some sort of parking. But here's the thing. The farmers market would likely share parking with the hockey arena, so I think that that is okay. And then anything structured or underground just doesn't make sense for this kind of use. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna imagine that they're using this parking lot at the city hall, and then I'm gonna take the city police station, and we're just gonna keep moving this thing. I don't know why I can't find a home for this, but it's gonna have another one. Basically, I'm gonna take this thing and move it over here near the hockey arena. And then because this is a police station, I want to make sure that they have full access to this road right here. So we're going to modify it slightly. And there we go. To me, that makes a ton more sense. The whole reason I wanted to move that is we are going to add a surface lot right here. And this is specifically to serve the farmers market. And even though it'd be a lot faster for me to use a parking lot pathway, I want to have a decent amount of accessible parking here, so I think I'm going to plop everything. Okay, and that parking lot took about 100 times longer than it should have, but I think it's turned out beautifully. And one of the things that I got to add here is a ton of accessible parking, which I think is really important for a use like this, as well as a bit of EV parking, which you might expect to see at a farmer's market and near City Hall. And with that, I'm gonna step away from the parking. And I feel like some of you might need a cold shower after all of that. So we're gonna do that with transit. And we're gonna start that right here at Terry Fox Street. You can see there is a delivery vehicle that just decided, you know what? This is the right road for me. I hate this. So let's get rid of this entire bridge. And that is one unhappy tram vehicle. But it will be incredibly happy soon because I'm going to give this a dedicated tram bridge. And this isn't the most exciting bridge, but at least now it will only carry tram traffic and pedestrians. I am going to add a node to try to clean these up a little bit. And I think what I'll do to completely clean this up is key it right here. You can see it actually did it for me. And now it just makes a ton more sense. I'm going to also make sure that our slopes are good. And then get rid of this roundabout. Now this road looks pretty crazy to me. I'm going to see if I can improve it with Move It at all. And then finally clean up a bit of the landscaping right here. And I feel like that is a ton more reasonable. So now the only problem with transit is the utilization. And I feel like we need to double check that because I've seen a lot of backing up right here of this white line. And if you think about it, it makes sense. It goes to Old Town. I chose white as the color. It's actually a pretty poor color for a transit line because you can't see the dots. And we'll go green for the color of the trees. I want to speed this along to get into the peak period to see how bad the backups are. Okay, and this is what I was waiting for. Now, interestingly, it's coming after the peak period. The peak period is generally 7 to 9 a.m. That's when people would be going to work. This is starting at about 9:30 a.m., but there's just a crushing number of people waiting here at the tram stop. So we're currently at 98% utilization here, 702 people using this line. And at this stop alone, 439 people waiting. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to increase the number of vehicles by 2, which should clear this queue. And that should give us excess capacity. And here's the thing. I want lots of people to take transit. So I'm going to take transit and make it fare free in this city. So I've done that for Old Town. Do the exact same thing for the Maple line, both clockwise and counterclockwise. And I know we probably don't need clockwise and counterclockwise from a gameplay mechanics standpoint, but it just makes a ton more sense to me. So that's exactly why we're doing that. Now I'm gonna do the exact same thing to the bus lines, as well as reduce the number of buses on the routes. They're way too many right now. And I think 4 is probably reasonable on both of these lines. Though maybe we should give that some thought. Maybe we want to bring buses over here, and that would mean that we need to have more capacity. Now, to do that, I think I want to have some sort of a bus station, and I've been eyeballing a location right here, right across in that big parking lot that we just placed right here. And the reason I like this is we could interface with our tram system then, and it's right near City Hall. And that means that this land right here is free. I'll go with Old Reliable, the small bus station. I will add some station services and a small park space as well. And then we've got to find a way to attach this bus station directly to City Hall. So I'm going to open that up like that. If I can, I should probably carry the same paver through here. And then I'll adjust the landscaping so it feels a bit more natural. And then lastly, we need to make a pedestrian connection. Now, before I add transit service to this space, I noticed one area that I forgot to landscape right over here. So I'm going to add some. And then I never added a Canadian flag to City Hall, so I better add that as well. Now, for this bus service, I think I'm just going to take the existing routes, and instead of looping them like I am right here, I'm just going to have it go into the station. We'll do something more with bus service in the future, but this is at least a good start. And then finally, just looking at utilization, we're at 25% for both of the routes. And for the trams, we're up to 85 on the Old Town line. I'm going to add one more vehicle, considering we have 961. Oh my goodness. And 946 over here. We actually need many more vehicles. Now this Poplar Street stop that has all the passengers is the hockey rink, but this one right here is Terry Fox Street. And I did not know that this stop was quite as popular as it is, but my goodness, there are actually a lot of people right there. And as I look at this, there's a lot of other bad stuff happening right here. Oh my goodness. That's a lot better, but there's still a lot of people waiting at this stop. So I'm going to let this run for a few minutes and see if we clear the queue. And it took just a couple of minutes, and the answer is yes. We've completely cleared the queue over here. And you know, I was thinking about tackling some bike and ped projects, but I feel like those deserve their own video. So rather than doing anything with bikes, I know that we can't currently get to Old Town from downtown and vice versa via bike unless you're in mixed traffic. I know that. We're going to address that in its own video. I think instead, I want to take on one big project that is going to be very, very, very satisfying. So there was an asset released yesterday that allows me to take this spur and turn it into a fully functional spur. You can select the material that you want. So we'll just need to place this next to Gary Mills on a road. So what that means to us is we need to reorient Gary Mills because this would go into the water. So what I'm thinking is we are going to take this thing and basically spin it around 90 degrees. That means that we need to get rid of a lot of the work that we've done here. But here's the thing, totally worth it. So I'm going to take this, rotate it like this, and then I think bump this over as much as I can. And that's because I have an idea that's probably foolish, but we're going to try it anyway. Inside of this asset, there is an invisible road. So I think if I can get rid of this and replace it with a normal road, I could use that normal road to place the cargo rail spur. So that's my game plan. In fact, I'm going to place this thing right away. And it's broken and unhappy. That's what I was worried about. Sometimes if you just attach onto this thing with another invisible road, it's happy. That did the trick. Now it's happy. So now I should be able to take this thing and slide it into place. Oh, that's going to work out beautifully. Now let's place that cargo rail spur, and that fits beautifully, except that it's now going into all of these homes. So just thinking about this, what I think we need to do is wrap around the back side of these homes and then link up right there with a nice clean connection. So that means getting rid of a whole bunch of these homes. The only issue is the angle right now. This angle is really not favorable. So I'm going to see if I can pull the mill back and over. And I'll be honest, I still don't love that, but I think I can probably get over it. So now I just need to find my way across the river. And I think that I'd want my crossing to be as gentle as possible. So that's probably right here. And that means even more homes have to go. You know, this is the end of the spur. It can be a little bit slow. I think that this is going to work out okay for us. So now I will just gently and gracefully merge into this. And I want to be able to go towards Calgary as well. So we'll loop right here. And then finally, we've got to use the slope tools to clean this all up because we can get this to 0.1%. This also turns this into a wall. And after just a couple of quick adjustments, that looks really, really good. So let's add that cargo route to this station and resume things just to make sure that everything is functional. Oh, and look at that. We have a train coming in. And it's going to drop off right here at the mill. Oh, and check that out. There's pathing going to it. There's a truck going right to it. Oh, it's working. It's so cool. So cool. I have wanted this asset for so long. I love this so much. So now that we know that this is working, let's add one more cargo route. And this one's going to go all the way to Calgary. So we'll begin there, go out there, and then end here. And I'll want to revise the number of vehicles down to 1. Now, I'll be honest though, looking at this reminds me of something that Tygon told me that I have to do. So for the Lake Louise and Calgary lines that are going to the forestry industry, I modified the car model to only have the forestry car. And apparently there is a bug. If you don't have a normal cargo car, you will not ever spawn a vehicle, or the vehicle won't be able to carry something. So by adding that on, we should now be able to carry cargo here. So I need to do that with those 2 lines. And then even though it doesn't look like it just yet, I did modify this cargo train to have 1 train just like all the rest of the routes. We just need to wait for one of those to go back to the depot. So now that we've done that, there are a couple of things that we have to do to finish up. We got rid of all the parking here, so I want to add that back. Then we've got to add our fencing back. And that looks so good. I absolutely love this change. This asset is amazing. If you're looking for it yourself, it is the Cargo Rail Spur by Aruth. And as far as I could tell, this was their first asset and it's amazing. Now, a couple of things I want to point out. I did try to preserve visibility around here. That was a big concern of mine. And I made this node wider so that trucks could easily get in here. The only other thing I want to do is add a couple of homes right here to replace the ones that we removed, as well as get rid of these Chicago-style homes that have the garages in the back. Thankfully, we now have the 1900s homes. And while those are spawning in, there's one thing I just thought about, and that's Gandy Street over here. This was named after Lane Gandy, and I can't believe I didn't think to name this Gandy Lane. That's so much better. You know, and as I look at this, you know, in modern times, I think that we would require some sort of a fence in between these homes and the rail line. But historically, this is completely normal. What I think I'm going to do, though, is screen this from a sound standpoint. And let's be completely honest, this would not stop a lot, but it would at least block some of the lights. It would block a little bit of the sound, and it would block none of the vibrations. But still, better to have this than to have nothing at all. And with that, I think that things are looking pretty good. You can see from a traffic standpoint, while we have heavy traffic in a couple of locations, it's pretty evenly dispersed. But perhaps most importantly, there are no standstills, and Main Street is completely fixed. Now, at the start of the day, this parking ramp was consistently full. And right now it's still full, but there is a bit of space in here. And I think that we can directly attribute that to this parking facility right here, this one right here, and this one right here. Now, from a transit standpoint, we are incredibly successful now. We have really grown our transit ridership, and we've added infrastructure that's going to be really useful in the future. But perhaps most importantly, we no longer have the bottleneck here on the Terry Fox Bridge. And that means that our trams are able to cross without any issues. The one thing that's not so great is our bike and pedestrian crossings, and that's something that we're gonna have to address in a future video. Because for today, I think that we're gonna leave it here. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I wanna thank you so much for your time today. There's a million things that you could have been doing, but you decided to hang out with me and work on transportation. And for that, I appreciate you and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.